Hey, practice owners and managers, do you have the issue where the new clients may call up, but they never make it into the exam room? Do you have issues where you've got applicants to your practice, but they don't actually choose you and instead go to another practice? If so, this video is for you. Watch on. Hi guys, Dr. Joel Parker here with the Standing Ovation Practice. Listen, I bought a practice 2 years out of graduation and spent the next 15 years in private practice ownership. Then I sold it, and I've spent the last 20 years consulting and training thousands of private practice owners just like yourself. What the Standing Ovation Practice series is all about is those nuggets of information that created not a good practice, but a great Standing Ovation practice. Today, we're working within the PR and marketing and sales series, and we're going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about that four-letter word that starts and ends with an S, okay? It's actually 4 letters. It's a four-letter word with an S called sales. Now, when I first was in practice ownership as a young veterinarian, I really reacted and kind of triggered on the word sales. You know, I'm a clinician, I'm not a salesperson, but I later discovered that the origin of the word sales comes from the Old English definition sellen, which means to give or help. And that's exactly what I was doing in the exam room. That allowed me just that kind of mental shift to go, yeah, that's what I'm doing. We've got clients and patients coming into the exam room. I'm there to collect information and come up with a tentative diagnosis that's going to help that patient. Now, there is some money that's involved on that transaction, but if I do a great job of communicating with the client exactly what the patient needs, and if I've done such a good job that the client has no confusions or no considerations on stuff like that, then when it comes down to offering or showing them what the estimate for services is, if they are qualified financially, then they'll just go ahead and do it. And guys, I found that time and time again, that where you've got a client that's objecting to work to being done, they oftentimes don't understand what you really wanted. A really funny story, there was an ER colleague of mine that I was working with, and he said, listen, I just spent 45 minutes talking with clients of a little Daxi, little 12-year-old Daxi. I went in for 45 minutes about the T13, T13L1 intervertebral disc subluxation, and they're nodding their heads. I think they've got it. I was recommending the next treatment, and they stopped and said, Doc, can we ask a question? I said, and he said, sure. He thought he'd really nailed this, right? And they said, Doc, could this be a slip disc? And he had to kind of eat a little crow there, be a little humble and say, yeah, that's exactly what it is. He had lost them in the description with the big words. So when you get into selling a treatment plan, it is extremely important that it's basic and simple and that there's good diagrams that everybody can understand. Okay? So what's really important on this is that this even occurs when that phone rings with your CSR. It's not only in the exam room, but it's when that phone rings and your customer service rep, your CSR receptionist needs to go and get that client into the exam room. This is where you're kind of keeping in mind what the lifetime value of a patient is. And one of the things I did on mine is that I would put on the phone a little sticker, like a little 3M sticky note saying $18,000. That's the lifetime value of a 12-year-old dog, according to the AHA study with IDEXX of 2014. Okay, that's $18,000 in today's dollars. So I put that sticker on there so that the customer service rep really understood the value of that phone call. And they just didn't push the, they didn't push the, go over to the answering machine button because they were too busy to get it or something like that. Just a little sidebar note here. One of the most effective things you can do in a practice is have a phone room that's off your front lines. There's nothing more defeating or deflating of that above and beyond expected experience when you're talking with a client and the phone rings and you've got to say, David, sorry, I've got to get this phone call. It's like saying, David, this phone call from somebody that I have no idea who they are is more important than me talking to you. So to avoid that conflict, everybody, I highly recommend that you push towards getting a separate call center that's handling all those incoming phone calls, and you can have your front CSRs who are like client concierges. They're there for the clients. Okay, good. So you want, when the phone call comes in, you want to give help and sell help. You want to go with that sales process. A really good way of getting a client in the exam room that I used is offer a complimentary visit. guys, and this is where it's a complimentary visit just to come in and meet the staff and meet the doctor. It's not covering vaccines or any procedures, but it allows them to come in and just check you guys out. That's kind of like a dance on the high school dance floor. You can check each other out. You know, do I want to form a relationship with this person or not, right? Okay, good. So to kind of assess this whole area of the front line, back in the year 2021, we did a mystery call study where I hired some of my staff to get on the phone and call private practices and just ask a question, say, listen, we're moving into your area. We've got a little 6-month-old Yorkie. We need to get her spayed. How much is that going to cost? A very simple question. We then had a rating scale that had a series of points, and that they would gain points if they picked up the phone before the first ring. They would gain points if they asked your name and got the client's phone number, gain points if they asked the pet numbers. There was a number of things they had to do, and we totaled all those up. And we were going to originally planning calling over 1,000 practices. So we could say, hey, in this study, we called over 1,000 practices. We got up to 564 and stopped because the results were so bad. The average practice got a 3 or 4 out of 10 on the barrier on handling the sales call for this $18,000 phone call that's coming in. It's that bad, you guys. It's crazy, okay? So the bottom line is you've got to have somebody up front who is very, very a positive people person. They're super friendly. They answer the phone. This person becomes your client concierge. How do you know who that's going to be? You can start a call log that you start looking at the conversion of the people coming into your practice with the phone call. Do they make it in the exam room? There was one practice in Colorado that had 3 customer service reps. One had an 88% conversion, one was 66, and one was a dismal 32. The 32% conversion CSR had been there for 18 years and thought she needed a raise. The 88% one was a high energy, energizer bunny, positive people person that was super friendly, offered the comp exam and got them in. The 66%er was in training. Okay, so there is a difference. Use your call log to track your conversions. Your client concierge is like that point guard on the basketball team. If you want to score baskets, get the ball to the point guard. So your new client concierge, who's being trained on all this, is a person that when the phone rings and it's a new client calling in, you would politely put them on hold and then go and get your new client concierge. They would sit down in a private room and get the client booked in for that exam, for that lifetime relationship of $18,000. Another point of sales is in your applicant interview. Okay, let's say you've got a DVM. Let's say your public relations is good. They heard good things about your practice. They saw your ad in Indeed or on the American Veterinary Medical Association classified, and they've actually made an appointment of coming in. That's where your marketing and PR has worked. Now you've got to sell them on your practice. And this is where it gets really, really interesting. Okay, and that's where you need to structure a good interview that really focuses. There's probably a whole day-long seminar on this that focuses on what that new doctor wants, and then you are presenting your practice in exactly so that it clicks that box. It hits all those little boxes on that applicant that comes in. Okay, guys, so what can be a 4-letter word with an S being sales is something that is absolutely vitally important in your practice. I had to do like a little mental attitude shift, and once I did that, we started getting really busy. It was awesome. Okay, guys, so PR, marketing, and sales. PR precedes marketing. Marketing precedes sales. Make sure you've got great PR in your community. Make sure your marketing materials are out there on the right communication line to the right audience. And make sure that you've got your lines wide open so when those phone calls come in, they're coming in. Okay, guys, that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the content. Please click the like button down below. That's that little thumb. Please click subscribe. Make sure your notifications are on. Make sure you tell your friends about this because we like to build this channel. And I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.